Hi, welcome to Terribly Fun Films. I'm your host Bobby, and we are continuing with the Dragon Con Countdown. Today, we're looking at Fred Olen Ray's Dire Wolf. Why am I doing this Dragon Con Countdown? Because Gil Gerard's in it. Gil Gerard is best known for being Buck Rogers. He's also been in several 100 million B-movies and TV shows since then. He's in fact still acting today. It's going to be at Dragon Con. I'm really excited to meet him. It was a 2009 creature feature. It's also known as Dino Wolf. That is the title that it was released on DVD under, and that title is inaccurate. It just doesn't work. Dire Wolf was an actual species of wolf until it went extinct some 15-ish thousand years ago. And as far as these things go, I haven't really seen any dire wolf represented in a low-budget creature feature like this, so that works. I get calling it Dino Wolf makes that connection with the dinosaurs and how long the wolf did survive before it went extinct, but that title does not work. Inaccurate. It doesn't make sense, especially once you find out more things in the later part of the film. Bad title. I will be referring to it as Dire Wolf the entire time. So what did I think of the movie? Dino Wolf starts off at the Clark Biogen facility, which is located just outside of the main small town where most of the film happens. And we see a scientist call to the security guard that there's a door open, an alarm's beeping, let's go look into it. Turns out it's a latch attached to a cage. The cage was holding the wolf, and it is now out. It kills most of the workers at the facility. Cut to the following day. Sheriff Parker is at the diner eating breakfast. He's explaining to the new waitress very directly how he likes to eat. His food needs to be arranged on his plate in a very specific manner. His coffee cup needs to be put in a very specific place. Things like that. When his adopted son, Jim, the game warden, comes up to tell the sheriff about some vandalism that happened at the warden station. They have a bit of a chat. Jim orders breakfast to go. Some hillbillies give him a hard time. He runs into his ex-girlfriend who's about to go camping with her new boyfriend. And the sheriff notices that a particular person named Ed is in fact missing from the diner. He eats breakfast there 5 days a week. He's not there now. He thinks that's weird. So he heads to the Clark Biogen facility to see what happens. There he meets the few surviving scientists. They tell him what's up. They then get the game warden on board so they can all hunt this thing together, along with some government agents who are there to help oversee all of this. And then we have the fodder, the people going camping, the hillbillies, those future creatures. That's kind of it for the plot. It's a very straightforward plot. There are no huge surprises. One great turn near the end of the movie that I will get to later. There will be a spoiler warning once that happens. But that's all I'll say about the plot right now. And I think it mostly works. The script was written by Dan Golden and Patrick Moran. If I just tell you the plot and the characters, it probably sounds like any number of any other kind of creature features that you've seen, be it Asylum, it's a Sci-Fi Channel, or late 80s cheese that became so prominent in that time frame. Its story structure, it absolutely hits all those beats. While the characters aren't exactly deep, they are likable. Characters who are meant to be likable, at least. And the characters the movie wants you to root to die, you, in fact, root to die. So that works. The dialogue is also pretty amusing. There are some sharp one-liners, some interesting science mumbo-jumbo that sounds fairly realistic. The movie was directed by Fred Olen Ray. Fred Olen Ray is just one of those B-movie gods that perhaps the everyday casual watcher is not familiar with, even though they've definitely seen a movie of his, maybe two. Much like Jim Wynorski in that respect, where they just keep working so hard, churning out movie after movie, and people just don't know who they are. Fred Olen Ray's direction here is really good. There's very little filler in the movie, never really lets up, so once it escapes, it's just, we set up our characters, and then they're hunting it, it's hunting other victims, that sort of thing. And the action scenes are well done, they're engaging and fun, and again, if you are a gore hound, you'll love this film. It's very bloody, pretty gory. The Dire Wolf makeup was done by Michael Del Rosa and Erica in Hanger, and it's a bit of an issue. It is a person in a suit, which means that there are times where it's walking on all fours and it's crouching, as opposed to being on all fours. And it looks really silly and goofy and will take you out of the moment. And the fur looks fake. Luckily, there are only a handful of scenes where you get full-on looks at the creature, so it's not too big of a deal. But you will be laughing at the big, wide shots of the creature because it's just really goofy. The eyes, which again, I think it's a human in the suit, move really well. You can see the eyes nicely through the mask. The prosthetic mouth moves really well. The ears move really well. And the front claws work really well. So some props need to be given in that regard. Props should also be given because, again, there's absolutely no CGI to be found in this movie whatsoever. If there is, it's very minimal and probably only used to remove wires, strings, and or to enhance a few elements that were done practically. Randy Carter's editing is perfectly alright. A few of the early death sequences are edited a little too much, so you can't really tell what's going on. But most of the scenes are just fine. There's no sequence I remember, oh, that was really well edited, but there's only a tiny number that I thought were perhaps could have been spruced up a bit. The cinematography by Theo Angel is actually a really strong part of the film. It still does have that like made for TV look to it, that low budget independent horror film, creature feature specifically type look. If you've seen enough of these movies, you know the look I'm describing, especially given the film came out in 2009. You probably have an idea of the lighting and that sort of thing, and you'd be accurate there. But the cinematography does allow for some really cool shots of the creature attacking. It allows for some nice depth of field work, especially when a particular character gets killed off, and we pan out to see the rest of the characters. It works really well there. It's a nice shot. So it definitely adds to it, even if it can't necessarily overcome its limited means. The score was done by Chuck Sereno, and I think it's really good. Going back to that death scene I just mentioned, I won't tell you which character, but as the characters are mourning this and discussing what to do and stuff, the score comes in and really just does its job, underlines the drama well, sells the actor's feelings pretty well, that sort of thing. And the action scenes, it does an equally as good of a job as selling the visceral brutal attacks that are going on, selling the deadliness of the creature, things like that. Of interesting note is frickin' Ben DeMarie worked on this movie as a gaffer, as did Laura Beth Love, and that's just a really fun connection there. So again, B-movie world kind of small sometimes, or at least seems that way. So I just thought it was kind of cool to note those two now pretty big people in the B-movie world, worked on this film. Playing our ostensible lead, Sheriff Parker, Maxwell Caulfield, is really fun, really good here, really amusing moments. Caulfield's probably best known for his roles on The Colbys and Dynasty from the 80s. I first saw him, though, in Empire Records, where he plays the rock star who's coming to sign everything that day. Rex Manning Day. I've seen him in other movies like Waxwork 2. He's pretty good in everything I've seen him in. This is probably the best performance I've seen him give. I have not seen everything he's in. I've not seen everything where he's the lead role. So there's a lot of fun here. There's some really great side-eye throughout the film, and some of the more ridiculous things people say or do, and it adds some much-needed levity to it. And he's a very confident leading man. He's easy to root for. He holds your attention. Good screen presence. Everything you want in that sort of a character. Playing the small but important role of Ed, the security guard that goes missing that springs Sheriff Parker into action, is Stephen Lee Allen. He has like 5 minutes of screen time. I don't only mention him because the character is so important. He's fun, boy. I mean, nothing memorable. Playing one of the leading scientists, Tina, Dawn Ann Billings, is only okay. She sells the sciencey things fairly well, and an ending twist she sells perfectly. But she's not so good in her interactions with the other actors. She seems very awkward and stiff. Maybe they were trying to go for this character doesn't get humans very well. She understands the science and the creatures they created better, but if so, that doesn't come across properly, and it's not really there in the script. So that would have been awkward, to say the least. Vincent Cephalopoulou plays Cooper, another of the surviving scientists from the attack on Clark Biogen. And he's good, kind of menacing, definitely a little bit creepy. Not really a bad guy, though. So it's a bit unclear why they kind of go the mad scientist route. As I mentioned in the beginning of the review, Gil Gerard is in the film. He has a supporting role as Colonel Hendry. He's the military officer who sends 2 agents to investigate what is going on at Clark Biogen. He's pretty good, especially his ending scene is really solid. It's a role he could probably play in his sleep at this point, but he brings a lot of gravitas and a weight to the role, giving it that very authoritative figure feel to it, and you need that to come across very quickly in a movie like this, and he does well there. The agents he sends are Agent Reed and Agent Jesse, played by Kristen Howe and Mark Joseph, respectively, and they're both perfectly fine. They do an adequate job, they sell the action well, they sell the terror when they feel and see the creature and that sort of thing well. As the all-important game warden Martin, Jim Martin is his full name, Blake Cooper Griffin does a really good job. I'm surprised they made him and Maxwell Caulfield's characters being an adoptive father-son team, because they do look enough alike to where you could buy it. They don't look dead ringer for each other, but enough alike to where he clearly had some of his mom in there, you know what I mean? Like, but that's just me. Acting-wise, he's a lot of fun. He's really easy to root for. He gets some really good line readings. He sells everything very well. And his concern for his ex-girlfriend, Amber, is really believable. Amber is played by Kimberly Horner, and she's also pretty good. A little hyper at times, like a little too over the top. Especially when she's being injured, like she gets injured and she's very hyperventilating and that sort of thing, and it doesn't really fit with any of the other things going on in the film. Again, it's meant to be kind of the character who's not necessarily ready for this type of situation, because who is? But it doesn't quite work the way they intended. The man in the suit as the dire wolf is Gregory Paul Smith, and he tries really hard. Again, it's a bit goofy when he's crouching on all fours and stuff, but that's not totally his fault. He didn't design the suit. He does move very well in it. He has very long limbs that he uses to great effect. He snarls and roars with the best of them, and he's a believable, credible threat. So, a quick roundup before we get into spoiler territory. The movie's overall good fun. You'll laugh at some things unintentionally, you'll laugh at some things intentionally, you'll be entertained by the deaths, as those are the highlight of the film. Lots of gore, that sort of thing. Laugh at some things unintentionally, you'll laugh at some things intentionally, you'll be entertained by the deaths, as those are the highlight of the film. Lots of gore, that sort of thing. I recommend seeing Dire Wolf as soon as you can, but be warned, the DVD I got, kind of pricey. It's actually been on my Amazon wish list for years and never really gone below $20. When I found out I could review it as part of DragonCon Countdown, I decided to splurge and do it because it was a pretty decent excuse. Now, here come the spoilers. You still with me? Spoilers. The twist at the end of the movie, and the reason I didn't get that in depth in terms of the writing, is really, really smart and very Carnosaur-esque. If you've seen Carnosaur, you know what I mean. Dire Wolf wasn't just created from found dire wolf DNA. They didn't combine it with other wolves or anything. They combined it with Tina's own embryos. Through artificial insemination, she froze some eggs that they used to put in the dire wolf DNA. So it's actually part human, which is one of the reasons it does look so humanoid. And again, that design doesn't totally work. But it's insane. The reveal of this, wonderfully filmed. The dialogue during that sequence, really spot on. The way it changes what you're gonna see when you rewatch the film in terms of her character, what happens around her character, that sort of thing, really clever. Really loved it, and it's where the writing shines the most. I feel like they had an idea and just had to get there. So they were, I don't know if rushed, but they weren't as careful with the setup as they are with the ending, because the ending works really, really well. I greatly enjoyed that. If you're the kind of person who didn't just end it when I said spoiler warning and jump forward, the spoilers are now over. No more spoilers. While Dire Wolf suffers from a few issues, some unintentionally funny dialogue, and just some ridiculous moments, if you're a fan of low-budget films, if you're a fan of creature features, if you're a gorehound looking for a really bloody good time, you will find something to like and enjoy about this film. Because of course you will. It's that kind of a film. It's from Fred Olen Ray, most of his stuff is at least competently shot. It's no different here. It is really fun. The actors do a decent to good job. Everything about the film just invites you to sit down and have a good time watching it, and I think you should. As always, I've been your host, Bobby. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.